Just days after Malcolm Jamal-Warner's passing, Ice Cube jumped right into the conversation, backing up Cat Williams and his explosive claims about what really went down with Malcolm. This is what Cube had to say just a few days ago.
Who really brought, realness to television, playing a great character, playing a great son on the Cosby Show.
And Cube's words hit different because they came right after the heartbreaking news of Malcolm's so-called accidental drowning in Costa Rica. Official reports say it was a tragic mishap, but according to Cat, and now Cube too, this wasn't any accident. It was a message. This ain't the first time a black man in Hollywood who refused to play the twisted game ended up blocked, blackballed, or buried. Cat's been warning for years about the shadowy power players in Hollywood, the ones who try to break anyone who refuses their humiliation rituals, dress-up roles, or clown-type behavior. Now, he's connecting those same forces to both Malcolm's career fade out and his sudden death. So the question is, was Malcolm punished for staying real? Was his legacy intentionally buried? And why are Cube and Cat suddenly on the exact same page? The way Cube hinted at it has the entire industry whispering. July 20th, 2025. What started as a calm beach day in Costa Rica turned into tragedy. Malcolm Jamal-Warner, actor, poet, activist, father, was in the ocean with his 8-year-old daughter when a violent rip current yanked them both under. Surfers rushed in, saving his daughter, but Malcolm didn't make it back. Despite 20 minutes of non-stop CPR on the sand, it was too late. The official story says it was just a freak drowning at a dangerous beach with hidden currents and barely any lifeguards. Maybe that's the whole truth. Or maybe it's only what they want us to believe, because what's hitting people the hardest right now isn't just the loss. It's the way Hollywood treated him before this, the silence, the erasure, the way he was made invisible while still alive. Malcolm didn't chase clout or compromise his principles. He never played the fool, never wore the dress, never let Hollywood shove him into a box. He kept saying no and paid the price with career blocks, missed opportunities, and closed doors, not because he lacked talent, but because he couldn't be controlled. And in Hollywood, that's dangerous. Remember what Dave Chappelle warned us about years ago.
But certain dots, like when I see that they put every black man in the movies in a dress at some point in their career, I'll be connecting them down like, wow, these brothers gotta wear a dress.
Now, all of a sudden, the tributes are rolling in, calling Malcolm a legend. But where was that energy when he was here, putting in work, staying grounded, and fighting for real representation? That kind of posthumous praise starts to feel less like respect and more like damage control. And that's exactly what Cat Williams has been screaming about for years, that this industry only throws roses on your grave after they've already erased you from the game. Now here comes Ice Cube, a man who usually keeps quiet about these industry shadows, standing right behind Cat's words. It's got people leaning in, listening closer, because maybe Cat wasn't just ranting into the wind. Maybe he's been laying out a blueprint for a long time, and Malcolm's so-called accident fits right into that bigger, darker pattern. If you've really been paying attention, everything Cat's been saying for years is right there in plain sight. Some folks used to laugh him off like he was just wilding out. But now, with Malcolm gone under these suspicious circumstances, Cat's words hit different. This wasn't just comedy. He was pulling back the velvet curtain on Hollywood's dirtiest little secrets, just like Chappelle did in his own way. Cat's been saying there are unspoken rules for black men in the business, and if you don't play by them, you get frozen out, painted as unstable, or worse, erased completely. According to Cat, it always starts small. They'll hand you a role, but it comes with a leash. Maybe you gotta wear a dress. Maybe you play the fool. Maybe you're the loud, goofy sidekick they're laughing at, not with. He calls it the humiliation ritual, a twisted test to see if you'll trade your dignity for a bigger paycheck. Now think about it. Did you ever see Malcolm Jamal-Warner doing any of that? Nah. Same with Cat. Neither one of them played the clown, and they paid the price. Cat got stamped as difficult and unhinged, blocked from stages and screens that once welcomed him. Malcolm didn't get the crazy label. He just got erased quietly. No invites, no big budget call sheets. Not because he lacked talent, but because he refused to bend to their agenda. What Cat's exposing is a whole machine built to crush anyone who won't bow down. If you won't follow their program, they'll program the public against you. They'll starve your career, rewrite your image, and when you're gone, they post tributes like you were royalty the whole time. That's why people are starting to connect the dots now. Everything Cat's been shouting about, those hidden forces in Hollywood, is playing out right in front of us. And just when we thought the industry couldn't get more calculated, Here comes Ice Cube. Cube's not the type to talk just to talk. When he speaks, it lands like a punch. And right now, it sounds like he's backing Cat 100%, calling out the same crooked system that left Malcolm out in the cold. See, Cube never needed a red carpet to keep it real. He's one of the few who's always played the long game with integrity and leverage. Go back to No Vaseline and you'll see it. One long middle finger to the industry and the sellouts who let themselves be puppets. He's been warning us for decades how labels and shady managers exploit black artists, strip their power, and sell them back to the public as controlled assets. When he rapped, "But I'm a man and ain't nobody helping me," that wasn't just about rap beef. It was about respect and not letting the machine own you. Doesn't that sound exactly like Cat's warnings? That's why fans are connecting the dots. Even though Cube never name-dropped Cat or Malcolm, the vibe was unmistakable. Cube knows exactly what this game does to outspoken black men who refuse to be clowns. And when you match that with the way Malcolm moved behind the scenes, the spooky picture of Hollywood gets a whole lot clearer. While Tinseltown was busy chasing viral trends and pushing the same tired stereotypes, Malcolm was quietly building something real. He didn't need to shout to make his point. He lived it. Through his Not All Hood podcast, his sharp public interviews, and the roles he refused to take, Malcolm stayed solid. Not All Hood Said It All, co-hosted with journalist Candace Kelly, it was his way of flipping the script and telling his own truth without bending to the system. The Not All Hood podcast was Malcolm's way of throwing a brick through Hollywood's glass box. He was done with the tired, one-dimensional portrayals of black life that the mainstream kept recycling. Trauma, violence, and clownish caricatures. He wanted to shine a spotlight on the full spectrum of black experiences. The thinkers, the builders, the artists, the parents, the teachers. Every episode, Malcolm brought in voices the industry completely ignored, people actually shifting culture from the ground up, not just chasing clicks. And he didn't stop there. Malcolm wrote razor-sharp op-eds, gave unfiltered interviews, and made it crystal clear why he turned down certain roles. It didn't matter how polished the script looked. If it pushed lazy stereotypes about gang life, drugs, or broken families, he passed without hesitation. He wasn't going to feed the same machine that paints black men as disposable, dangerous, or dumb. Malcolm called out what he saw as fake representation, that phony progress Hollywood sells, where the packaging looks new, but the message is still the same tired trope. And this conviction didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was baked into him from the start. Born in 1970 and named after two giants, Malcolm X and jazz legend Ahmad Jamal, he was literally built on resistance and culture. When he blew up as Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, he didn't just ride the fame wave, he redirected it. That show redefined the image of black families on TV, and Malcolm carried that legacy like it was sacred. But here's the part people forget. He didn't just stick to acting. While other young stars soaked up the spotlight, Malcolm was behind the camera directing episodes of The Cosby Show, Fresh Prince, and even meaningful educational projects like Sesame Street and AIDS awareness specials. Malcolm wasn't here to be someone else's pawn. He wanted to control the narrative. So when the industry started pushing typecast roles, gangbanger, clown, or sidekick, he sidestepped that lane entirely. He rejected the scripts that dragged black men into stereotypes, even when the paycheck looked sweet. Instead, he chose roles that broke the mold. A youth counselor in Here and Now, a loving husband in Read Between the Lines, characters that were layered, loving, and real. And Malcolm's artistry went way beyond the screen. His spoken word poetry earned Grammy recognition. His music carried meaning. And Not All Hood was his bullhorn to challenge the system directly. Every episode was about breaking out of the suffocating box the media tries to cram black voices into. He wasn't chasing viral moments. He was building legacy. That's why he didn't have the blockbuster roles or a constant tabloid presence. It wasn't a lack of talent, it was a choice. Malcolm picked intentionality over clout. He didn't fold, didn't sell out, and never bit his tongue when the truth needed to be spoken. In every role, every poem, every podcast, he was exposing just how deep this industry's game really goes. And now, in the shadow of his passing, the truth feels heavier than ever. Malcolm wasn't just an actor. He was a quiet resistor, a cultural critic, a man who lived the very warning Cat Williams has been shouting for years. He held the torch from The Cosby Show, not its scandals, but its symbolism. A black family on TV that was educated, loving, layered. A show that told kids they could be soft-spoken, brilliant, and still unapologetically black. Even when Hollywood shifted away from that storytelling, Malcolm stood his ground and kept that light burning. Malcolm wasn't chasing viral fame or red carpet applause. He was moving with pure intentionality, turning down big checks just to keep his integrity intact. And that's exactly why his passing cut so deep. Just like Cat, Malcolm refused to bow down to the game. Just like Cube, he cut the puppet strings before they could wrap around his neck. And while the system didn't come for him in a public smear campaign, it pulled its quietest and most effective trick. It acted like he didn't even exist until now. So why is it that the moment Malcolm is gone, the industry suddenly wants to paint him as a legend? Because the second he passed, Hollywood flipped the switch. The same machine that ignored him when he was alive suddenly couldn't shut up about his greatness. Former co-stars posted tearful tributes, media outlets dusted off old interviews, networks dug into their archives to push clips of him as Theo Huxtable or sharing thoughts on Black identity and healing. The feeds were flooded with glowing praise from people and platforms that hadn't celebrated him in years. But here's the question: where was all that love when he was still breathing? Let's keep it real. This is Hollywood's oldest play. When you're alive, grounded, and refusing to be a clown for their entertainment, they keep your name off the list. But the minute you pass, the cleanup crew rushes in. They reframe your story, package your legacy, slap a bow on it, and sell it back to the public like they were always in your corner. With Malcolm, it was textbook. The industry ignored him while he chose dignity over dollars. But the second he couldn't speak for himself, they rewrote the script. And that's exactly what Cat Williams has been warning us about for years. You're only celebrated once you're no longer a threat to the agenda. This isn't about love, it's about control. It's about making sure they decide how you're remembered, even if it means bearing the truth right alongside you. And it makes you wonder, how many more have been erased just because they chose self-respect over submission? The official record says Malcolm Jamal-Warner drowned in Costa Rica. Strong rip current. No lifeguards on duty. Tragic accident. That's the line. But for those who've been watching the game long enough, some accidents leave behind too many questions. But ask around, listen to the whispers, read between the lines of those comment sections. Look at what's been bubbling under every single post about him. Was this really just a tragic freak accident? Or was it the system doing what it always does to someone they couldn't control? Cat Williams has been warning us about this exact cycle for years. If you don't play the game, if you reject the humiliation rituals, the clown roles, the puppet strings, they don't just bench you, they erase you. And once you're gone, that's when the legendary talk starts. Malcolm never chased the spotlight, he chased truth. He skipped the red carpets, shut down the dress-up gimmicks, and refused to turn his blackness into some hollow stereotype. And the more he stood his ground, the quieter the calls got, until one day, it was just over. Now, to be clear, nobody's saying Hollywood pulled the trigger on Malcolm's fate. There's no smoking gun, no hard proof, no confirmed setup. But that pattern, that's what's got people side-eyeing this whole thing. First they ignore you, then they erase you. And finally they swoop in to rebrand you, packaging your legacy for sale while the public mourns a man they barely got to hear in his prime. And now Ice Cube has stepped in, echoing the same frustrations Cat's been voicing for years. The same frustrations Malcolm lived every day of his career. The same frustrations that make you wonder, how many more will be silenced before people start calling this out for what it really is? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you on the next one.